What's up guys, welcome back to the Classic Car Maintenance channel. In today's video, we'll show you how to clay bar your car. If you ask most people, they will probably tell you that clay barring or claying a car is some mumbo jumbo invented by professional detailers to charge some extra cash. Chances are they are convinced it is completely unnecessary. They probably think that after they've treated their car to an extensive pro-level hand car wash using only the best stuff out there, all the gunk and grime is washed off their car and there's nothing to improve. Well, they should think again. Simply do the zip bag test. Put a zip bag or any other plastic bag over your hand and gently stroke your freshly washed car paint. You'll notice a rough, scratchy feel and sound. That's because there are thousands, probably millions of tiny, nearly invisible contaminants sticking to your car surface that can't be washed off. So, if I didn't notice them, why should I care, you might argue? Well, first of all, because these chemical contaminants come from road splash, exhaust fumes, tar, tree sap, bug guts, mineralization, embedded brake dust, chemical fallout, and they will attack and deteriorate your car paint over time, with rust as a result. Secondly, and maybe the most practical reason you should remove them, is that when you polish your car paint or use a power tool to wax your car, some of these contaminants will come loose and get caught in your polishing pad. Because these minute particles are sharp and hard, they will mess up your car paint, leaving swirls and scratches. Guess that's not the intended outcome. Thirdly, should you put wax sealant or any other protective coating over these contaminants? Over time, some will work loose, leaving potentially thousands of unprotected spots that are vulnerable to the elements. That's far from ideal. If you want to remove these nasty contaminants once and for all, clay barring is the only solution. The most popular and arguably most effective tool to use for clay barring is, well, a clay bar. The name says it all. It's a clay bar, made up of natural or synthetic Play-Doh-like material that removes and encapsulates these particles without scratching your car paint. It's the preferred claying tool for most professional car detailers. The past few years, clay mitts and clay towels have become popular. They work just fine too, and some people prefer these over the traditional clay bars. It's a matter of personal preference, I guess. Now hold on, let's pause here for a sec. Before you get all excited and start rubbing your car paint, you first want to check your car's paint thickness. Although clay barring is the most gentle way of removing those tough contaminants, depending on the hardness of your car's top coat and the grade of clay you're going to use, there's always a chance you'll cause marring, those tiny swirling scratches. Now, the only way to correct this is to gently polish your car paint afterward. We'll address that in our next video. But when you polish your car, you're going to remove a few microns of paint thickness in the process. That's what polishing does. No big deal for healthy car paint, but this is a major thing to consider if your car paint is old and worn because you want to avoid rubbing or polishing through your car paint, right? Because if you do, you'll be looking at thousands in respray cost. The only way to be sure is to measure your car's paint thickness. You want to invest a few bucks in a reliable paint thickness meter to avoid thousands in bills. Believe me, don't spend hundreds of dollars on a professional one though. There's good ones for the price of some burgers and a cold snack too. You can measure your car's paint thickness with a mechanical or a digital paint thickness gauge. The cheapest are the magnetic pen style gauges. They're simple, but they give you a general idea and that's all you need. You want to measure paint thickness in many different spots because some panels may have been resprayed or polished hard to remove a deep scratch. What these devices do is measure paint thickness. A mechanical one measures paint thickness on steel parts using a magnetic steel ball on a spring-loaded extendable pen with a color scale. The thinner the coating on the surface, the stronger the hold or pulling force the magnetic ball will have. A thin coating will have more resistance trying to pull it off compared to a thick coating, resulting in a longer measuring stick. There's colors and matching values on the gauge. It's the last reading just before the ball lets go that counts. A digital gauge is much more accurate, however, and can measure paint thickness on aluminum parts too. For both types of gauges, just follow the manufacturer's instructions. It's no rocket science. A healthy, normal paint thickness is between 100 and 200 microns. Much higher measurements mean that the car, or part of it, has been repainted. Below 100 microns, you gotta be careful not to be too aggressive because there's not too much paint left. Below 80 microns, back off, easy. Don't touch it, don't even look at it. Luckily, our tests show a healthy paint thickness on our car. Although this rig's got some years to it, all measurements are consistent around 130 to 150 microns, which is great for an old car. We're good to go. Let's do this. Before you start washing and clay barring your car, you want to park your car in the shade, away from trees. It's not a good idea to park your car under trees when you're washing or clay barring it. There's always stuff falling from trees like tree sap, dead foliage, bird droppings. If this stuff accidentally gets caught in your towel or clay bar while cleaning, it will scratch your car paint. The heat from direct sun softens your car paint in summer, making it more prone to abrasion and scratches. Intense sunlight will also evaporate your products before you can work them, potentially leaving marks and spots. That's why you should never wash or clay bar your car in direct sunlight on a warm summer's day. However, if the sun is too weak to heat your car paint, you should be okay. Gently touch the car surface to make sure it isn't hot. If you don't have a place in the shade, it's better to wash and clay bar your car on an overcast day or early in the morning when it's cool. After you've washed your car very thoroughly, it's time to gather everything you need to clay bar your car. First, let's get our stuff together. For starters, you're going to want to put all your stuff somewhere clean, away from the ground. You want to avoid getting dirt and grit on your towels, mitts, and products. You can use a folding table like this one or any clean surface that's raised, like a large covered garbage bin or garden furniture. Doesn't matter as long as it's clean. Here's the stuff you'll need to get the job done like a pro. First of all, you'll either need a clay mitt or a clay bar. For this demonstration, we'll be using a medium-grade clay bar and a medium-grade clay mitt because this car has never been clayed but the paint is in good shape. Most claying products are available in fine, medium, or heavy grade, depending on your car paint's condition. If your car paint is in good condition, it's best to use a fine or medium grade. If it's really rough, go for the heavy grade. We don't like using a heavy grade claying product if we don't have to because depending on the hardness of your car's top coat, this coarse clay may leave marring and swirls. But if your car paint is rough and you'll have to polish it anyway, that doesn't really matter. You'll also need a good clay lubricant to lubricate your car paint during the claying process to prevent scratching. You want to wear nitrile gloves for skin protection when you're working with chemicals. Because remember, the products you're going to use are formulated for car care, not skin care. You might also need an iron remover spray and chemical-resistant gloves. If you're going to use an iron remover spray, you'll need a large and a medium drying towel and 4 to 8 edgeless microfiber towels to dry your car after you've rinsed off the iron remover. To avoid scratching your car paint more than you have to, you want to use ultra-soft edgeless towels. You'll find them in the product's description down below, along with the other products and tools. You'll also need a wash mitt and a car wash bucket with grit guard to rinse your clay mitt and a pressure washer. Although not strictly necessary, we do recommend spraying your car paint with iron remover spray before clay barring. This should be done right after you've washed your car. There's thousands, maybe millions of tiny metal flakes that are dispersed by your brake shoes and brake discs each time you brake. These particles are scorching hot when they land on your car paint and stick to it. If you don't remove them, they will start to corrode, expand, and damage your car coating. These tiny metal particles, which can hardly be seen with the naked eye, will react with the iron remover spray, making the runoff turn purple. They will dissolve partially and dislodge, making them easy to rinse or wipe off during the following washing process. Give the product a few minutes to react with the metal contaminants, but don't let it dry. Most embedded iron particles are situated on and around the wheels and on the lower end of the car, where the brake dust settles. If you don't use an iron remover spray before clay barring, some of these iron particles will come loose, which might cause excessive marring and scratches. Avoid spraying areas with damaged or cracked paint because this spray is acidic and corrosive to bare metal. It will not harm your car paint though. The process is very straightforward, really. You want to spray the product on your car paint and wait until it turns purple where it reacts with iron particles. Don't forget to wear eye and hand protection while spraying because iron removal spray contains muriatic acid. No big deal, but that's not the stuff you want to get on your skin or in your eyes. You don't want to inhale it either. Just spray downwind to avoid getting the spray mist all over you, and use common sense. Now sit back for a couple of minutes and let the product do its thing. Time for a cold snack maybe. You'll see purple runoff wherever metal dust is embedded in your car paint. On our flame red Jeep, Purple is kind of hard to see though. It looks more like a dirty brownish runoff. In our How to Wash Your Car video, for example, we used the same product on our metal gray wheels and the chemical reaction could clearly be seen. It was a bright purple runoff. Pretty spectacular. It all depends on your car's color scheme, of course. Also, some parts of your vehicle will have lots of reaction, others none. That's okay. That's because in places there will be a lot of embedded metal particles, in other places, hardly any. Now, rinse your car thoroughly with your pressure washer before the iron remover dries. You want to hit the surface from a minimum distance of a foot or so and work in a 45-degree angle to blast the particles away from your car paint. Avoid working in a 90-degree angle because the high-pressure water jet will actually shoot any dirt and grit on there with full force onto the car paint. The idea is to clean the car, not to sandblast it, right? Now wash the treated areas with a wash mitt using plain tap water to wipe off any remaining iron particles. It's best to only apply light pressure and to swipe in straight lines, in a crosshatch pattern where possible. This greatly reduces the risk of visible swirl marks. Flip your mitt to a fresh, clean side for each new section. When both sides have been used, rinse it thoroughly. You want to use a bucket with a grit guard insert because all the gritty bits and metal particles will sink to the bottom of your rinse bucket where they are trapped beneath the grit guard. They are safely contained out of reach of your wash mitt where they can't cause scratches or marring. Rinse your car thoroughly with your pressure washer once more to make sure all those sharp metal particles are gone. If your car doesn't have a lot of plastic parts, you don't have to dry your car before clay barring it. You can continue to the next step right away. Any water spots that may form while drying in open air will be removed during the clay barring process anyway. In our case, we won't be claying all those black plastic parts because they are not coated. And there's loads of plastic on this car. That's why we're drying our car with towels to prevent water spots forming on our plastic bumpers, fenders, and roof. Also, we feel that working on a dry car is more convenient, but that's a personal preference, I guess. We're starting with a fluffy, extra-large drying towel for the top of the car. This is the fastest way to go for the large level parts of your car, like the roof, the hood, and the trunk lid if you have one. You want to throw the large towel like a net and pull it towards you. This technique is used by professional detailers because it is fast with zero risk of scratching your car. Once the horizontal top areas are done, you want to fold it so it's easier to dry the vertically oriented top panels. You can use the extra large towel to quickly dry your car glass too. Now that the top half of our car is dry, we'll switch to a medium-sized drying towel, which is easier to manipulate on the lower end of our car. There's also much less risk of accidentally dragging it over the ground and picking up all sorts of sharp sand and debris that can scratch your car paint. It's still large enough to cover a lot of ground fast though. You want a small, handy drying towel to do the finishing pass. One that's agile and fast to dry mirrors, grills, lights, wipers, strips, or around logos. Don't forget to check for drip marks. Finally, you want to dry your wheels and tires to avoid watermarks. We could just have used the same small towel we used for the lower end of our car, but it got too wet. We used a dry gray one instead. Right, folks? Now that the preparation's done, we're all set to start claying. We'll clay bar one half of our car with a classic medium-grade clay bar. We'll do the other side with a medium-grade clay mitt to demonstrate the two different techniques. Okay, let's start with the clay bar. First, you want to form your clay bar into a comfortable, easy-to-work-with shape. Spray the bar with clay lubricant on both sides. Stretch, fold, and shape it till it fits snugly in the palm of your hand. You can also cut or tear the clay bar to a smaller size to get in tight spots or join two or more pieces together to clay a large surface. Whatever works best for you. Before you start claying, spray the clay bar again. You want to make sure that it is well lubricated at all times. Spray a 2x2 working area abundantly with clay bar lubricant. That's a manageable size surface to clay bar in one go. Don't be stingy because the lubricant provides scratch protection for your car paint. If you use too little, you will scratch and mar your car paint. Now gently rub the clay bar over the lubricated surface. Only apply light to moderate pressure, starting with 2 passes per line, up and down and side to side. You can always come back and rub some more if needed. You will clearly feel the surface friction diminish. That means it's working. Once you get the hang of it, you'll be able to feel whether the surface is clean while working it. Keep a close eye on the surface you're claying. If the surface dries, spray some more lubricant before continuing. You don't want to rub the clay bar on dry car paint because it may cause scratches. Wipe the lubricant off with a clean, dry towel before it dries. After each section, you want to check your clay bar's condition. If it's dotted with dirty specks and smears, stretch and fold it a couple of times till the contact surface is clean. If your clay bar stays ash gray and is dotted with little black specks, no matter how you fold it, discard it and get a fresh one. On average, you can do up to 2 cars with 1 bar, depending on the degree of contamination. Clay bar the adjacent 2x2 area. Again, starting with plenty of lubrication. Always overlap the previous area slightly to make sure no spot is left unclayed. Continue with the next area and so on. Car glass also greatly benefits from a clay bar treatment because it will smoothen the glass surface by removing caked dirt and mineralization, making rain roll off much faster. Chrome, aluminum, and stainless steel can also be clay barred, as well as glass headlights. You want to stay away from plastics, however, unless they are coated. A clay bar is also very suited to work in and around tight spots like hinges, handles, badges, grills, and so on because you can tear off small pieces that even fit in the tightest spots. Just stretch it till it tears. Fold it to the desired shape and you're good to go. A small piece of clay bar can get where mitts and towels can't. It fits effortlessly under, around, and in between. You'll notice that in narrow areas, you'll be unable to clay in a crosshatch pattern because there's just not enough space. Don't worry, just work in straight lines and you'll be just fine. Where there's more space, switch to crosshatch. Once you get the hang of it, it's an easy, relatively quick process. Spray, clay, wipe, repeat. Next up is the clay mitt. It's two-sided, but it's the dark gray side you want to use for claying. It's coated in a rubbery layer made of moya, a kind of fine clay. The moya layer is fused to the mitt in a mesh pattern with thousands of openings that safely trap contaminants so they don't scratch your paint. The procedure is quite similar to claying with a clay bar, actually. However, you can use the mitt as is, straight out of the blister. You will need a rinsing bucket with a grit guard to rinse your clay mitt, just like you would with a clay bar. Start by spraying a 2x2 working area abundantly with clay bar lubricant. That's a manageable size surface to work in one go without the clay lube drying before you're done. You want to use plenty of lubricant because if you use too little, you will scratch and mar your car paint. Now gently rub the clay mitt over the lubricated surface. Only apply light to moderate pressure, starting with 2 passes per line, up and down and side to side. Again, you can always come back and rub some more if needed. You will feel the surface friction diminish, but it will be harder to distinguish than when using a clay bar. It will take more practice to sense what's going on underneath your mitt. A clay mitt doesn't transfer the scratching sensation as well as a clay bar, but once you get the hang of it, you'll be able to feel whether the surface is clean or needs another pass because the surface will be smoother with less drag. Again, keep a close eye on the surface you're claying. If the surface dries, spray some more lubricant before continuing. You don't want to rub the clay bar on dry car paint because it may cause scratches. Wipe the lubricant off with a clean, dry towel before it dries. After each section, rinse the clay mitt thoroughly to remove all impurities that are trapped in the cavities of the rubber mesh. If the mitt gets saturated with contaminants, it will start scratching your car paint. Before moving on to the next area, wring your clay mitt out to remove as much water as possible. If your mitt is too wet, it will dilute the clay lubricant. A clay mitt can also be used on car glass, glass headlights, chrome, aluminum, and stainless steel, just like you can with a clay bar. Again, don't use it on plastics unless they are coated. I guess you know the drill by now. Spray, clay, wipe, rinse, repeat. Just like with a clay bar, you'll notice that in narrow areas you'll be unable to clay in a crosshatch pattern because there's just not enough space. That's just fine. Just work in straight lines. Switch to a crosshatch pattern when possible. You want to avoid wiping in swirling motions at all times because that's how swirl scratches are made. Now let's do the zip bag test again. Gently rub a plastic zip bag wrapped around your hand over your car paint. It should feel like silk and the scratchy noise should be gone. If you're not satisfied, go back and clay some more. Some areas may need extra claying. Typically, around the exhaust there's a lot of soot. Behind the wheels you'll have the most brake dust and the front bumper area may have hard to remove bug guts. Once you're done claying, you'll be amazed how soft and slick your car paint feels. Nope, no more scratching. Approved. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. If you liked our video, please consider liking and subscribing. More videos are on their way, so we'll see you on the next one.